I sat on the curb at the entrance, devouring a hot dog, a real bliss, fatty in every way, with crispy cabbage and meat so tender that you could have sworn it was grilled by heaven itself, and lazily watched as the movers, puffing, dragged suitcases into the van. Naturally, it all kicked off like it usually does for hopeless romantics like me, with a love so fierce it buzzed in my ears and itched under my ribs. Veronica and I first crossed paths at my buddy Alex's birthday bash, and the second I laid eyes on her, it hit me, well, Captain, you're about to sail straight into a hurricane. She was tall, flame-haired, had that mischievous sparkle, spoke 3 languages without breaking a sweat, and couldn't care less about calories. The way she knocked back tequila, you'd think it was some sacred nectar instead of pure fire in a glass. Fast forward 2 years, and there we were, throwing a wedding. Straight out of a Hollywood script, her in a glowing white dress, old folks dabbing at their eyes, our friends wobbling around half-smashed. And me, in the one and only suit I've ever owned. Honeymoon booked for the following week. Then I went to the open sea. Yes, I was a real sailor, a battered backpack, a rumpled uniform, and a heart that repeated Veronica's name with every step. On the platform before my departure, she squeezed my hand tightly and said, "Earn some extra money and we'll buy a car. We will drive through the mountains, and I will read poetry to you, and the pines will sway behind my back." Deal, I grinned, but only if you're wearing a swimsuit. We mapped it all out, 5 months at sea, 3 houses, money, freedom, dreams lined up in a neat row. That first voyage? Smooth sailing. I came back, and she welcomed me like I was some action hero ripped straight from a Harrison Ford movie. Wild, breathless love. Of course, we bought this car. Then we set off, winding along the Serpentine, sipping wine, eating mussels, taking photos on the rocks, where, frankly, every time it seemed like we were about to kiss. Or we'll fall into the abyss. That's the rise we've been on. Well, almost 3 years had flown by. I was the sea, she was home, friends, Sunday dinners with her mom, and bouquets on every holiday. Life had settled into something steady, maybe a little too steady. Sometimes it even felt, well, a little dull. Then one day, I roll back into town after another long haul. 4 months away. I'm itching for her, my skin practically buzzing, but honestly, all I can think about is getting home to Veronica, scrubbing off the salt and sweat in a long shower, and crashing into bed. She meets me at the door, and right away, I know something's off. You ever see how a woman doesn't kiss you, doesn't even really hug you, just kinda gives you a little wave like some neighbor you bump into by the elevator? And she smiles too wide, like she just remembered she left the stove on? Yeah, that was the vibe. "Hey," she says, "would you mind if, we just skipped any surprises tonight?" What? I blinked. I've been living off canned stew and chatting with seagulls for 4 months. I'm about to explode. Yeah, but, my head hurts, I'm tired, you know, all the chaos around. Honestly, I didn't get it. Not really. But I just nodded, kept my mouth shut, didn't want to push. Turns out, that was only the tip of the iceberg. The very next day, she drops it on me out of nowhere. "You know, it's kinda risky. We haven't been using anything lately." "There are pills in the cabinet," I said. "I mean, unless I'm losing my mind. Maybe you forgot a few?" Something inside me snapped then, like a safe cracking open, only instead of gold inside, there was something rotten. "Veronica," I said, slow and steady, "if you end up pregnant, I'll be over the moon. You know that, right?" "Yeah, but you never know," she mumbled, not meeting my eyes. She kept dodging, couldn't hold my gaze, and me like a damn fool I went along with it, pretending to believe her, even though there was already this slow burn starting to eat me up from the inside. Couple weeks after I got back, I started noticing something wasn't quite right in the kingdom. Down below, itching, burning, making me restless. I figured, better safe than sorry, so I booked an appointment with a doctor, mostly to shut down my own paranoia. Thought maybe it's nothing, allergies, bad laundry soap, or hell, maybe the new swim trunks were cursed. So there I am, sitting awkwardly across from a venereologist, feeling like I'm at some weird confession in a stranger's grandmother's kitchen. The doctor flips through my file, looks up, and says real casual, "So, you've got syphilis." Hold up, what? I blinked. "Syphilis," he repeats, like he's telling me I forgot my umbrella. I almost dropped my phone right then and there. "Yeah, classic case," he went on, unfazed. "Smartly picked up, but hey, Good news, it's treatable. And just like that, everything slammed into place. Crystal clear. I hadn't touched anyone else, hadn't exactly been cuddling with rats in the ship's hold either. Walking back to the car, my hands were shaking as I dialed her number. She answered, and right away, I caught it, that tone. Like an actress busted in the final act of a soap opera, shaky but not even pretending to be surprised. "We need to talk," I said, voice low. "Is something wrong?" She breathed out, soft. Way too soft. "Yeah," I said. "Something's real wrong." Later, standing there in our kitchen, I didn't say a word. Just tossed the paper with my test results across the table at her. She barely glanced at it, didn't need to. She already knew. "I can explain," she said, almost whispering. "It's not what you think. It was just one time. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Who?" I asked, the words barely making it out. "Where? When?" "Helen and I went to this sanatorium out of town," she started, voice barely holding together. "Her sister was there with some guy, and he had a friend, and somehow, well, it just happened." "Oh really? Just happened? Like, you eat pasta, and oops, syphilis for dessert?" I snapped, my voice sharper than I meant. "But no, I didn't flip the table. Didn't smash plates or scream until the neighbors called the cops. I just looked her dead in the eyes and said, 'Go stay with your mom. I need time to think.' Truth was, I'd already made up my mind. Couple days later, everything was set. Her stuff packed neatly into boxes, the moving truck humming outside like a clock winding down. I stood by the window, phone in hand, watching the movers wrestle her fancy coffee machine into the van. I tapped her number. "Come outside, sweetheart," I said, voice sweet as syrup. "Got a little delivery for you. A surprise, like old times, remember?" "Really?" she said, voice flickering with some stupid, stubborn hope. "Yeah," I said. "Exactly like old times." Then I hung up. She shuffled out in a bathrobe and flip-flops, mascara smudged like war paint under her eyes, staring at the truck like it was carting off everything she ever dreamed of. What about me? I was sitting there on the side of the road, eating a hot dog. Fat, delicious, dirty. And you know what? It actually started to feel a little lighter. Now I'm heading back to the sea. You know, the sea doesn't fake it, it's either roaring like a beast or lying still like glass. No in between. And yeah, I'm seeing someone these days. Her name's Ingrid. She's a barista, can't stand sanatoriums, and says beer only tastes right if you're cracking open boiled crayfish at the same time. I haven't told her I was married yet, feels a bit too soon for that kind of confession. But I have this feeling. If one day she looks at me across a couple of beers and asks, "Hey, you ever been in love?" I'll probably just smile, take a slow sip, and say, "Yeah." So much that I didn't even notice the syphilis at first.